All right, guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to Riding the Peptides with Chad. I'm your host, and I'm super excited about the guest today. Today, we have a special guest joining in all the way from Wichita, Kansas, right across the street, basically from where I'm at. I'm in a small town in Kansas here, right by Wichita. I've grown up in Wichita. I work in Wichita. But none other than that, we are talking about Tina Boney today. Yes, you got that right. This is my mother, Tina Boney. So go ahead and say something, Tina.
Hi.
Okay, so you got to know my mother is not a big person when it comes to being behind the camera, being live, or anything like that. So I'm super excited to have her on the show today. She is going to be the special guest today. We're going to talk about her story. Now, we're going to start out with the question I ask everybody on this channel. When you tune in to this live stream every Saturday at 2 o'clock, where are you streaming in from? Where are you tuning in from? We're streaming in from Hayesville, Kansas, but where are you tuning in from? So drop in the comments where you're from, what you're currently taking, what your dosage is. If you are on a GLP-1, what does your weight loss journey look like? Any questions that you have today for my guest, drop it in the chat. We'd like to answer your questions today. So we're going to get started. So super excited about this one. First, I'm going to ask, we already know your name is Tina Boney. Tina, what is your age?
I'm 61.
She's 61 years old. So we're going to have you speak more into the mic.
61.
If you're having issues hearing my guest or I, let us know because we're trying to work the audio out today. Okay, so she's, how old are you? 61?
61.
She's 61. So 61 years young today. So how long have you had diabetes?
About 10 years ago, I think I was diagnosed with it.
10 years ago, she was diagnosed with diabetes. So I was diagnosed with diabetes type 2 about 15 years ago, and she was diagnosed with diabetes 10 years ago. So we have a special guest tuning in the chat, Tara Boney. That is my lovely wife. Good to have you today. Again, if you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Okay, so 10 years ago, you were diagnosed with diabetes type 2. So give us your story. How did you find out that you had diabetes? What led to that? What made you think that you had it? Or was it just a normal checkup that you were
It was just a checkup. I didn't even suspect anything about it. They just called me and said your A1C was been high and didn't know much about it other than you were a diabetic. And my siblings are diabetics. And they started me on metformin.
Metformin.
Yep.
Okay. How did you do with metformin?
I have the normal side effects with it. It did bring my sugar down a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, but I was not one to really change my eating habits either. So.
Okay. So a lot of us, I feel like when we become diabetics, we really don't change the way we eat. We just try to hope that the medication will change our blood sugars, right? At least that's what it was for me. So a lot of people know if you're on Mounjaro, if you're on metformin, it does cause some GI issues. A lot of people struggle with diarrhea, that type of stuff. But a lot of people can't take metformin because they just can't get past the side effects of it. A lot of people do take metformin. I still take metformin. I'm on 1,000 milligrams twice a day, which is probably a whole lot for some people. But it's just kind of more of a maintenance thing for me to kind of help alleviate the pressure from my pancreas. So
actually, when they started my metformin, it was 1,000 in the morning and 1,000 in the evening.
So you were taking 2,000 milligrams a
Yep.
day as well.
Yep.
Okay, and that's pretty high dosage.
Mm-hmm.
So did you feel like it worked for you? Did you see a lot of results when it came to just taking the metformin?
Not really. I mean, in fact, I think I got some neuropathy from it and stuff.
Neuropathy.
Yeah. But
Okay. Well, so how long were you on that before have you ever been put on a GLP-1 before other than Mounjaro that you're on?
About a year ago, I tried Ozempic, and I started out 0.25 with that. It made me sick at my stomach, but that's the first time I ever tried anything like that. And then I went up to 0.05. It helped my sugars a little bit, but just the whole nauseous, I think it isn't really worth it. And so I just discontinued it. I didn't feel like it was helping me lose, but maybe, not being on it long enough. I don't know.
It's kind of interesting because that's kind of my story. I got on Ozempic before I got on Mounjaro, and maybe that's because we both go to the same doctor's office. We had different doctors. I almost feel like back in, I don't know, the beginning of last year, I feel like the whole doctor's office of doctors were just trying to push Ozempic. It's almost like they were getting a kickback or something. I was telling her, I said, last year, I said, they started me on Ozempic, but man, they sure were pushing Ozempic, and they were pushing Ozempic for her. They were wanting her to take Ozempic. The idea of taking Mounjaro wasn't even on the list until I got out of that doctor's office. I still go see the same doctor as my normal physician, but I started going to a endocrinologist. And the reason why I did that was simply because my doctor got to the point where he just didn't have any more answers. He was shooting down my throat when it came to take more insulin and take more of this and this and this, instead of really figuring out what was wrong with me and the right treatment. So she was taking Ozempic. I took Ozempic before that, and maybe we were taking it around the same time as well. So Ozempic, as you know, for me, didn't work very well for me. It obviously didn't work very well for her as well. And you may have the same story. It may not be working very well for you as well. And that's why you're here on this channel, for us to give you great information to help you with your choices and what you can talk to your endocrinologist about. So I see we have Grace Upon Grace tuning into this channel. So good to have Grace Upon Grace, a couple of young girls, that I'm friends with on this channel. So, all right, guys. So how did it work for you, and what dose did you take? You already answered that. You said it didn't work very well for you.
Right.
You started out, I think you said 0.25 and you went to 0.5?
No, 0.05.
Okay, 0.05. Okay, so the question that I have for you today, Tina, or Mom, is how did you feel before you started taking Mounjaro? So even when you were taking the semaglutide, which is Ozempic, how did you feel even before you started taking, let's just go back, before you started taking the Ozempic, how did you feel as a diabetic with just taking the metformin? What was your life before that? Like, what did you feel like on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I didn't like the way I looked, and I was tired, and I just felt like I'm always going to be like this. I didn't know what it was going to be like. And then I didn't see Chad for a little while because, we don't get together as often, because even though we're in Wichita and Hayesville, we're so busy. I'm a school bus driver, and then I do a little side job and just busy with life. And then I saw him when we had went out of town together, and I thought, what is going on? You've lost a lot of weight. And so he started talking to me about the Mounjaro, and I went back to my doctor and I said, I'd like to try that. And she started me out on it. And I thought, well, maybe it'll work for me, maybe it won't, And then I just started it, and I was nauseated at first like the other, but I just stuck with it. And even now, the first couple of days, but it's not as bad as what it was before, because now I kind of tolerate it because I know the benefits from it. And so I just continued with it and just went through my daily life. And even myself, I didn't notice the weight loss as much as everybody else. Everybody else keep, how you losing weight and what are you doing and everything. And so I started, I was honest with them. I said, I'm a diabetic and I take this shot, and I tell them what it is. And, but I've never had, well, first of all, I started out, kind of embarrassed to say this, but I started out at 236 is what I started out with my weight. And I've always fluctuated, between 240, 210. Probably my last baby I had was 37 years ago. I weighed the lowest at 202, and that was 36 years ago. And today I weigh 168, and I was in a size 22, and now I'm in a 14, and they're starting to get loose on me. And it's like, I haven't even been in a 14 since before I was married, and that's been 43 years ago. So it's like, this really works, and I'm happy with it. It's not like I don't deprive myself with anything. And I took myself off all my medicines when I went to my last doctor, which is probably not the thing I'm advised to do, but I did. I'm not a big medicine person. And she took my A1C that day, and they called me back and said, "Oh, everything's excellent." I was at 5.5 with my A1C. Everything's excellent. So all I know is works, and I'm on the highest dosage now. I started out the lowest, now I'm on the highest. And my doctor said I can stay on this as long as I want, and it's good for my heart. So I have energy, and like I said, I feel younger. I don't think I look 61, but I don't know. I know I don't feel it, so it's just really awesome. So.
Okay, so with that said, that was going to kind of lead into the next question. I was going to ask, what did you notice first change when you were taking Mounjaro? You started talking about, there was a time, I remember you telling me one time, there was a time where it was hard for you to go down the stairs. They used to live in an apartment that had
out of breath,
a second story.
This is funny, out of breath. And I had a meniscus tear last year before I started Mounjaro, and that didn't help, with my, weight and everything. And now it was funny because my grandson works out all the time. I was racing down the hall with him, and it's like, I'm not even out of breath. It's just crazy, but, yeah, that all that's changed too.
So it's amazing to think that a drug can drastically not just change your A1C, your blood sugars, but also change different aspects of your life. I feel like, the weight loss comes, the blood sugars, they get lowered, which results in a better A1C. But not only that, I feel like it also does so many other things for you. Obviously, you get the energy because your weight comes off. But I feel like it also, at least for me, it builds confidence in yourself. It's a mental thing too. I don't think it's just a physical thing that it does for you, but it does something mentally. It makes you feel more confident because, a lot of people that are overweight, they don't feel very confident. They feel like, I'm always, as you said, I'm always going to be this way. I'm always going to be overweight. One thing that happened to me, I thought, well, with my blood sugars being so high, with my weight so high, I would not live a long life. I thought that I wasn't even sure if I was going to pass my 40s. Now that I'm 40 years old, I just didn't think I was going to live past my 40s because so many people, when they have diabetes that's not controlled, they start running into like heart failure, heart problems, heart failure, by the way, or heart conditions. They run in my family. My dad, he's got a lot of heart issues as well. But I felt like between that and cancer, diabetes leads to cancer if it's not under control. So getting these things under control, it does so much more for you. And they're coming out with studies, as I mentioned on my live stream that I just did about 20 minutes ago for the members only. If you're not a member, this is a great time to put a plug in. If you're not a member, it's very, very cheap, pennies on the dollar throughout the month. I think it's less than $4. Become a member. You get exclusive content. I just posted a video last night just for members, going over some things with diabetes and A1C and different things when it comes to Mounjaro, GLP-1s, and my status. But You get channel content that is exclusive to membership, but also the pre-show chat. So you get to chat with me and ask me any questions one-on-one before the shows. And so if you haven't become a member, I very, very, very recommend highly that you become a member, because it does give you exclusive things, content, but it also helps the channel. So if you want to support this channel, it helps me out, but it also gives you things back as well. And it's a win-win for everybody. But with that said, I did share about how it has helped, and it has just really done a big difference in my life. But also I see the things that it's done for my mother in her life. Absolutely incredible. Her clothes are literally falling off. It's crazy. I keep telling her, you need to go shopping and buy new clothes because your clothes are just too baggy. But here's the thing. Once she goes and buys new clothes, they're already baggy by the time, she wears them for about a month. So Mounjaro is definitely making a difference. And I see, going to go back to the chat, I do see my friend Mike Abasolo. He has joined us. Mike, it's good to see you on the chat today. He says he is a type 1. He's been on metformin for 13 years since he lost his leg. He needs something to lose weight, but his VA doctors, because he was in the military, will not change. So you might look into somehow being able to go look at and talk to a endocrinologist, somebody that specializes in diabetes. It's one thing to see your primary doctor, but it's another thing to see a doctor that specializes in endocrinology. And that is something that I would recommend, Mike. I'll talk to you more about that later. But you definitely, they definitely got to get you on a GLP-1, especially, well, if you're a type 1, you can't be on a GLP-1 because they claim it does not work for type 1. I didn't realize you were type 1. I thought you were type 2. But we'll talk more about that later at another time. So moving on to the next question. If you guys have any questions for the guest today, make sure you drop them in the chat because she's here and we're ready to ask the questions. All right. So the next one is this. What was your starting weight? I think you already told us what your starting weight was. Did you say you were at 236?
236. Yeah.
Okay. 236 pounds is what she was at in another lifetime.
And I'm 5'5".
She's 5'5".
And another thing I wanted to add to this was I have sleep apnea. Mm-hmm. And because of losing all the weight with Mounjaro, when I went to do my DOT physical, it's something I have to do yearly because I'm a diabetic and I have a CDL. I had to get my readings from my sleep apnea doctor. And they said from the time I started, probably 10, 15 years ago, I had stopped breathing 44 times in a month. And now I have zero, nothing since I've lost the weight with Mounjaro. And I can actually take myself, they said I could get off my sleep apnea, but I'm so used to I don't want to do that. But anyway, I just wanted to add that because of all this.
That's funny you say that because that was the same story that I was on sleep apnea. Or I had sleep apnea. I was on a sleep apnea machine, a CPAP, and I was about 300 pounds. And I went back to the sleep medicine clinic about a year. I don't know. It had been probably about a year ago now. So I've been on Mounjaro probably for a few months at this point and have lost a good amount of weight. And I take that back. I recall what happened was, I had been on this medication for several months, and I went back to the sleep medicine place because I wanted to get a different mask and felt like, well, since I have my blood sugars under control, I'm not going to get up throughout the night going to the bathroom. So now I can actually work on my sleep apnea because it's hard to have a CPAP machine if you're waking up throughout the night going to the bathroom all the time because your blood sugars are out of control. So it kind of goes back and forth, kind of offsets each other and it just doesn't work. So for me, I got my blood sugars under control. I was actually sleeping throughout the night and I went back and they did it. They just looked at my machine and they said, you don't even really need to be using the CPAP machine. You can use it for comfort if you want to, but you don't necessarily have to use it. If you want to use it, you can. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. And so at this point, I'm not even using the CPAP. I get good quality sleep at night. I can tell I do have an Apple Watch, so it tracks my circadian rhythm. It tracks my deep sleep and my REM sleep and things like that you guys are probably like, this guy's a nerd. But I actually keep up with this stuff because I know when I have very little REM sleep or deep sleep, I don't feel very good. I don't function very well. So with that, I have to say it was the same story for me. Maybe you're tuning in today and you have the same story. Maybe you've been a person that's struggled with sleep apnea, you've been overweight, and Mounjaro has helped you come to a point where you don't have to have a CPAP anymore. Maybe they're telling you that you don't have sleep apnea as you used to. So if you have a story like that, we'd love to know. We're going to go back to the chat here. We have Rachel Borsak tuning in from California. Good to see you, Rachel. She is a cousin of my mom, so that makes her a cousin of mine, a second cousin. It's good to have you from California. I remember when she got on Mounjaro, we talked, and she said she was going to go talk to her doctor about getting on Mounjaro. And she's been on it for several months now. And so hopefully you're doing well on Mounjaro and you're seeing great results, Rachel. So in fact, she used to live here in Wichita, so all the way from California. Probably nice and warm there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you said your current weight, did you tell us your current weight was?
168.
168.
Yeah.
168. And so
I can't even say it. I don't even know when I was 168.
yeah, she was 168 pounds when she was in middle school, guys.
Probably. Yeah.
No, I joke around and say, I don't know if I was ever 200 pounds since I was like in elementary school. No, I don't know how much. I was actually a pretty thin kid, but when I got into middle school, I think I started packing on the pounds. So, all right. So, this is a question that I don't think you've answered, and I've been really wanting to know, what was your starting A1C before coming to Mounjaro? Let's go back before that. What was your starting A1C before you got on Ozempic? Did it do very much for you?
No, I think it was ranging from 6 to 7, which is not, real bad, I guess. But it would just fluctuate all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were a 6, you said, and you went to a 7. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, fluctuating back and forth. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so 6 to 7. So it went up a little bit. And so after you got on Mounjaro, the first time you had your A1C done, after you've been on Mounjaro, were you on Mounjaro for a few months before you got your A1C done?
Yeah.
And what was the difference? What you noticed the first time?
Well, it's at 5.5.
So that's when it dropped down to 5?
Yeah.
Okay, so she was 6, went to 7. So, okay, were you 6 and then went to 7 after being on Ozempic?
I don't remember.
Okay, because I was going to say, that's crazy.
Yeah.
She got on the Ozempic semaglutide and it even went higher. I don't know if that's what she's saying, but I will say that it's pretty impressive if you went from 6 or 7 down to 5.2. 5.5 on Mounjaro.
And like I said, I don't recommend this to everybody because I just don't like to take pills all the time. But I was on high cholesterol. I was on blood pressure medicine, the metformin, all that. And I just took myself off of it. Mm-hmm. And then that's when they tested me just literally a month ago. And she said, everything's excellent. Keep doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And all I'm doing is the Mounjaro and vitamin D.
So you're not taking anything else, just Mounjaro?
No, and vitamin D.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, guys. I don't know about you guys, but I know a whole lot of other things out there in the market that control diabetes as well as Mounjaro. I know a lot of people can't take it. I understand that, and it's very unfortunate because Mounjaro is something that is a game changer. It's changing things like crazy, and we are seeing more and more and more things that are coming to be from this medication. Not only the Trulicity, which is the compound of Mounjaro. Obviously, Mounjaro is the name brand from Eli Lilly, but there are compound pharmacies out there that make Trulicity, which is going to be the GLP with the GIP added. They're basically the receptors that actually mimic hormones in your body. So you have the GLP-1, which is in most other things like Victoza, Ozempic, Wegovy, dulaglutide, which is going to be your Trulicity. All these different GLP-1s. There's so many that I can name, but the difference between that and the Trulicity, which is the Mounjaro we're talking about, is it has an added receptor in it, basically an agonist added, which is the GIP. So the GIP, GLP work together in tandem, and it actually helps with weight loss and blood sugar control. So what is your current A1C now? You said it was 5.5.
Yeah.
So basically, she's pretty much not even diabetic. I mean, obviously, once you're diabetic, you're always diabetic, but you can actually move back and can control where you can claim yourself as a non-diabetic, but you would your pancreas isn't performing like it should, where you can't say that you're not a diabetic. You can't say that you are not a diabetic. It's kind of confusing saying that. It's kind of hard to say that, but you cannot claim that you're not diabetic, but yet you have your diabetes under control so well that you are pretty much not a diabetic, if that makes sense. So, all right. So if you guys can take a second and like this video, it does help. If you are not subscribed to the channel and you're just coming by the show, I would love for you to be a part of this channel because it is a growing channel. There's so many things that's going to be rolling out on this channel. You don't want to miss it. I'm here. I've went before. I've discovered so many things being on this medication. I keep up with the news when it comes to GLP-1s and what the future looks like with all these peptides coming out and how they're changing the future. And also, I'm here for all the questions that you have. It's all about community, guys. We want to be a community to help each other out, to support each other along. As I said in the members only chat before, we are all running the same race to get better, healthier, live longer lives, and not just a longer life, but a life of quality. A long life doesn't matter if you have to sit at home and you're miserable and you can't do anything. How do I know this? Because my dad has not had a good quality of life for the last 6 years, has he? I mean, one thing after another. With his heart, it's been an AFib. His feet, he's messing his feet up and his back. But we're on a mission to make him better. We're on a mission to help him become healthier. They're going to put a pacemaker in, defibrillator, and he's going to be on a waiting list for a heart transplant. So keep him in mind, keep him in prayer. Don Boney is his name. But we are all moving forward to become more healthier and to live longer lives, but not just longer, but better quality. To be able to do things with your grandkids, do things with your spouse, do things that are fun, and to enjoy life. Because life, we got enough stuff going against us already, and we just need to take care of what we can. And these drugs like GLP-1s, semaglutide, tirzepatide, they are making a difference, and they do help with your weight loss. They help you to become better, make better choices, because they do help with appetite suppression. So they do suppress your appetite, which will help you make better decisions when it comes to eating. Should you ever have to get off this medication, hopefully you'll be able to have portion control where when you get off of it, you won't want to eat as much as you do now, or the choices that you make when you do eat. So we're going to take a moment and we're going to ask, if you have one last chance, any questions for the special guest today, go ahead and drop it in the comments below. But I'm going to open it up for Tina here to give you any advice or anything that she wants to share while she's on this show today that would help you with your journey on Mounjaro. Maybe you're starting out today with Mounjaro, and you are in the same boat. You have been overweight. You've tried different things. You've thought that you would never change, but you're going to give this thing a shot. You're going to see if it works. What are some advice and tips that you would give, Tina, to the audience, to that special person that's maybe tuning in today, that can help them when they start out on this journey? Something that would be encouraging to them to know that they are not alone in this journey, and to keep going, because maybe there's been times where you felt like giving up, and maybe it's just been too much for you. Maybe not, but maybe there is somebody out there that will take some advice from you today and keep going. So.
Well, one thing I would say is, yeah, don't give up. It might make you nauseous the first couple of days, but just go through, that. And one thing also I would say is a kind of a side effect. When I'm eating, I'm always, asking my husband, does this taste all right? Because it might kind of change your taste buds a little bit, where it doesn't taste as good as it used to, and which is a good thing with some stuff, because I used to eat McDonald's and now it don't even taste good. But I haven't eaten McDonald's.
Which is probably good.
Wins. Yeah, it's a good thing. Right. But, I mean, one of the side effects I will say that, is, and people don't like to talk about it, is you can't go to the bathroom like she should be able to. Yeah. But my doctor also said, if you're not eating very much, you're not going to be doing that too much either, and just add a fiber stuff to your drinks or whatever, But to me, it's benefits more than the side effects to me. Now, if your insurance doesn't cover it, I hate that, because I think, it should be available for everybody. But, that's, I don't know if Medicare, if any of that covers it. I don't know, because I'm not on Medicare. And if it doesn't, I'll probably keep working for a long time just to stay on this medication. So anyway, have you seen any questions? That's awesome, Rachel. Yeah, Rachel said she's her A1C is at 5.7. That's great. And it started out what, 9? I can't read that.
Her A1C started out at, and it was always in the 8s. Then she started on Mounjaro. It was 8.9. She said she was just tested, and it is now 5.7, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
6 is something that you want to aim for, being 6 to 6.5. That would be a good range to be in. And, that
she has the same side effect. Yeah. And I will say Chad keeps up on all this stuff. So, if you have any questions, definitely, because he keeps up on all this stuff. I go to him if I need to know something, because I don't keep up. I'm too busy to keep up with stuff. So.
I will say that for years I didn't care. I did care, but I got to the point in my life where I just didn't think anything was going to change. I felt like, well, if nothing's going to change, I'm not going to change what I'm doing. I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to eat what I want to eat. I'm going to just go, it was day to day. I just lived day to day. And it seemed like it got to the point where I started having extremely bad neuropathy. I remember, and I've said this in videos, I've probably said it in a stream before, but I was in Panama City, Florida last year, and was miserable with horrible neuropathy. My feet were burning so bad. I had to order special shoes, diabetic shoes, shipped right to Florida, because I felt like the shoes were going to make my feet feel better. And sadly to say, it didn't. I just wasted money on shoes because it was my blood sugars. And I remember I had insulin I was taking, I had basal insulin I was taking, and I had actually ran out of insulin in Florida and had to have them overnight me insulin. I probably didn't tell you this, but I had to have them overnight me insulin, just miserable. And while I was there, I was taking Ozempic. And once again, Ozempic did not do anything for me at all. It did not lower my A1C at all. It did not lower my blood sugars. It's kind of like when I was on Trulicity. I went through a bout on Trulicity. I was on it for about a month at the beginning of this year. I did several videos on that, but I had to take it because of insurance purposes. They wanted me to fail on Ozempic and fail on Trulicity. I'd already failed on Ozempic, but I got on Trulicity, and I'm telling you, as soon as I left Mounjaro, my blood sugar started going up, my weight started going up, and so fortunately I was able to get back on Mounjaro, but I just didn't care, guys. I was just living, but I got to the point where I was just hopeless and helpless and did not think it was going to change. And finally, I got to the point where I was able to go see an endocrinologist because my buddy had told me at work he was on a thing called Farxiga, which some of you may be on Farxiga. I did do a video on that. You can check it out. But Farxiga, basically, it's a pill you take once a day, and it just absorbs and secretes all of your sugar into your urine. And so it works for a lot of people. It worked a little bit for me, very little. It brought my A1C, or not my A1C, my blood sugars down just a little bit, but it was not where I needed to be. And so at this point, I was able to go see this endocrinologist that my buddy was seeing. And she said, hey, there is a new medication that just came out. It's supposed to be really, really good. It's supposed to have 2 different things working in it. Would you like to try it? It's called Mounjaro. And I'm telling you guys, it came out 2 weeks before I went and seen the endocrinologist for the first time. And perfect timing. I said, sure. So she gave me a 2.5 milligram box. It's free sample. I took it, and she'd given me some fast-acting insulin because my blood sugars were outrageous, and said, I want you to take this very little, like maybe 3 or 4 units every time you eat with the Mounjaro. And my blood sugar started coming down like crazy. I mean, I remember there's times where they were crashing in the middle of the night. My little meter was going off. And so I had to pull back on the, pull off of taking the fast-acting insulin. And as I just continued to titrate up on this medication, Mounjaro, I never noticed any appetite suppression or weight loss until I got to about 10 milligrams to 12.5. And then I was like, man, I was never hungry, ever. It seemed like, well, there was times where, I'd go 3 or 4 days after the shot, and then I'd start getting hungry again. And then I even did a video because I felt like my suppression wasn't working as well. I started getting hungry again. But it's amazing because I don't know about you, but it seemed like I go times where I'd be hungry, and then all of a sudden I'd be full. And it just like, I don't know if it was just like a circle of, 1 minute I'm hungry, and then a couple of weeks later on the shot, I would feel that appetite suppression again. But at the end of the day, I've been on this since June of 2022, and I still have appetite suppression. I can go almost a whole day without eating. But now, if I go a whole day without eating, my blood sugars, especially if I'm active, like today I was working around the house doing some modeling. I was bending over doing some things, started getting really dizzy, checked my blood sugar, it was like 68. So if I don't eat, my blood sugars can really, crash if I'm really active. If I'm not very active, it'll be fine. But the point what I'm making is I can go a long time without eating, and I don't eat as much as I used to. I'll go out to eat, and I'll eat very, very little because I get full so fast. Mm-hmm. There are times where appetite, and I know it's not necessarily appetite, but just the taste of food has changed for me. And I thought it was Mounjaro, but I don't think it's Mounjaro. I talked last week on the show about how I was getting dry mouth, and I was taking the 0 strips and testing out these different ones. Well, I went and seen an endocrinologist on Monday, and she said, no, I don't think it's Mounjaro, because her husband's on Mounjaro too. She said, I think it could be another medication you're taking. And so she started looking into the medications I was taking. And sure enough, it is the pregabalin that I take for my neuropathy that's causing the dry mouth. And so she pulled back on the dosage. So I still have a little bit of dry mouth, but I think it takes a little time to kind of change when you titrate down on that medication. So I'm hoping soon that this dry mouth goes away. But long story short, I'll talk your head off because this is a passion of mine. Mounjaro has changed my life. and obviously it's changed your life, and I hope it's changing your life, and I hope that it will change your life if you're not on it yet.
If you're not on it, try it.
Yeah, you need to try it. We are not getting paid to advertise Mounjaro. We are not spokespeople for Mounjaro, but we are living proof witnesses that have taken it, that are taking it currently, that it does work. Absolutely. Rachel Borsak says, I'm right. She says, I was on all of those and she had no success. She was on Victoza also. That did nothing. Mounjaro has been a lifesaver, game changer. I agree completely. I was on Victoza, and the only thing it did for me is made me sick in the mornings when I ate fattening foods. I was so sick where I had to force myself to throw up on some mornings because I was so sick. And the eggy burps were incredibly just devastating to some people. But then again, Mounjaro can do the same thing. It's just the GLP slowing down your digestion in your stomach. So the way you combat that is to change the things that you eat. Less fattening foods, definitely less fried foods. But is that going to change for a lot of people? No, people are still going to eat fatty foods. They're still going to eat fried foods, which we shouldn't. We shouldn't, but we will, because we want to live life, but we need to just do it in moderation, guys. I'm not going to sit here and tell you as a weight loss coach, you can never eat chips and salsa again. I'm telling you, you can live and have a great time living your life, but do it in moderation, because everything in life is all about moderation. If you eat too much of a good thing, it can be a bad thing. So just be smart about it. Be encouraged today from this show. And we're going to wrap it up. We usually try to keep these shows about 30 minutes, so we're pushing forward over 40 minutes now. But I want to thank my guest today, Tina, Mom, for coming on, for sharing your story, for sharing your advice. I am always looking for people to interview and have guests on this channel. So if you have a success story, if you want to be on this show, Riding the Peptides, every Saturday at 2 o'clock p.m., I encourage you to continue to come. Check it out. We have a good time every Saturday at 2 o'clock on the show. We go over different things, different guests come on. Shoot me an email. Let me know. I would love to hear your story. And with that said, guys, I hope you guys have a great Saturday, a great weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys on the next show. Have a good